today's talk is digitization and sustainable supply chain management. What are the research opportunities? So Sudhanshu, please keep an eye if at any point of time the slides stop or the video stops playing, please let me know.
Sure, ma'am. Sure.
So the presentation will proceed as follows. I will begin with a brief bio about myself, followed by Industry 4.0, which is seen as a foreword to digitization. I'm very thankful to Sudhanshu for giving me this topic to speak for, because here in Canada, we are talking a lot about digitalization and Industry 4.0, even talking about Industry 5.0 nowadays. But the fundamentals of these lie in numericization or digitization, as he has correctly put. So I will present, keeping in the theme digitization, not to confuse it with digitalization. And so the supply chain discussion will be oriented towards how digitization can make supply chains more effective, what are the challenges, and what are the problems that researchers need to address. I'm not claiming the work that I'm presenting is completely new, but I have tried to present it from my own perspective, from a fresh mind, and I'll be very happy if there is any feedback from the audience on how they see these problems and whether they agree with what is presented here. I will conclude my talk with some of the works I have been involved in. So I call them ongoing works because they have been presented before. I have worked with them before. They are closed projects, but nevertheless, they also set ground for new research. So in the limelight of digitization, they will be called ongoing works. And then I will conclude my presentation with the next steps. I will also mention that I am, in addition to my academic qualifications, I'm also a prolific YouTuber, recently involved in many online initiatives to promote women empowerment, to promote women in education, and to bring people from academia into limelight, because often I see that we are underrepresented, and qualified researchers, talented people, irrespective of race, country, or religion, should be promoted, should be moved forward. And therefore, in my talk, I will also introduce some material that I feel relevant to my discussion of today, my talk of today. But if you feel it is out of context, feel free to let me know, and I will move forward. So to give a brief bio, I am currently working as a full professor at Concordia Institute for Information Systems Engineering in Montreal, Canada.
Have you lost connection with her? Can somebody confirm? Ma'am, you there?
Yes, she's not there, it appears.
Okay. She is re-entering into the meeting hall.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, tell.
When she was presenting, the screen was zoomed in. Make sure that.
Yeah. I took a note of it. Yeah, we'll tell her. Let her reconnect. We will have validatory. We will extend the validatory time in case our lecture will extend it. I think it's fine with all of you. We have lost connection with Professor Anjali, and she'll be soon enter into the room. I requested her on the phone. Please stay with us. Yeah, we will have another session with Professor Noryal. You don't need to worry. Meenakshi, I'm responding to your query. It's very closely associated with us. Keep supervising us. We will have a special lecture under the series only. Is it fine with you, Meenakshi? We will soon have his lecture. We have lost you, ma'am. Welcome back. Please unmute yourself, ma'am. Professor, ma'am, please unmute yourself.
So apologies, my internet connection was out, and as a result, I was logged out as well. So,
Welcome.
okay, thanks very much. So I will revert back to my slides. So I was giving a brief background about myself, that I've been active in the area for quite some time. And I'm also involved. Okay. So looks like okay, I have to open the slides. So it is a little bit surprising to me that often we talk about, advanced technologies and things like that, but the very fundamentals of setting up a PowerPoint or having the internet work to present our findings is hampered. So, all right, I will try my best again. So is the presentation visible now?
Yeah, ma'am, it's visible.
Okay, all right. So since we lost some time, I will try to be fast. But as I was mentioning that this is a very timely topic, and thank you, Sudhanshu, for involving me in this topic. My involvement in this area has been for a while, and Sudhanshu has presented my bio, so very thankful to you, Sudhanshu. So currently I'm working as a full professor at Concordia Institute for Information Systems Engineering. I was recently promoted to full professor, so it is my recent achievement. My areas of research are modeling and simulation, data mining, IT and decision making, quality assurance and supply chain management, sustainable supply chain planning, and city logistics, to name a few. I'm also the holder of Concordia University Research Chair, and am sitting on the executive board of many leading organizations such as CORS, American Society for Quality, and IEOM. So can you see the slide on smart jewelries and women's safety at night, Sudhanshu?
Yeah, ma'am.
Yes, all right.
Yes,
so since today's talk is about digitization, and I am involved in many initiatives that address the theme of digitization, so I'm dedicating my today's presentation to honor women, and particularly, although my topic is focused on sustainable supply chain management, but I will begin with giving a brief outset of where do we stand today, and why technology is important, and how it is very useful in many areas, including women's safety. So please watch. This is the video in Canada, and you can imagine the situation might be worse in India. So the presentation of today is seeing information technology in positive light, in positive focus. And so all my talk will be using information technology or digitization as a panacea to address societal problems, and supply chains are no far. So please watch, and then I will continue. Hello friends, how are you today? So right now I'm going back to home, and there is no bus right now. I mean, I was just left at the mercy of walking by myself. Some trucks on the street. Otherwise, the whole street is empty, and so on. So anyway, this is not the point I'm trying to make. You can see, as it is so cold right now that when I'm speaking, my words are not really coming out so quickly. So you can imagine, no one on the street. So you can think about the safety of women and other big issues, not forgetting, nothing, no service available right now. But this is not the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is that recently there is a safe alarm kind of thing which is being circulated on media, and the police is recommending it, that women can use that as a means of safety and set an alarm, so when you are in a dangerous situation, you press the alarm and it will give a really loud alarm. But can you imagine the situation around me? Look, I mean, it is 1 o'clock in the night, there is no one around me. And if I am attacked by a stranger, and if I press that alarm, what's it gonna do? It's gonna do nothing, it will be just like a kid's toy. You press it, and both the aggressor and the victim hear the alarm, and the situation remains as it is. And I don't know when the police will come to record such an incident. So for me, I think we need better smart jewelry, which I have often mentioned in in my talks that I'm initiating, we don't need a false alarm. Otherwise, just bring an alarm clock from your home, or just use a simple whistle to blow to alert someone that you are in a danger. But if you need a police to come and rescue you at the moment of need, that alarm should actually signal 911 or signal the police, and a rescue should come to your service. Otherwise, we are just making joke of women's safety, and we are making joke of these devices which people are buying in tons to present to each other on Christmas. So for me, I think if we are talking about a device for women's safety, it should offer rescue in an environment like me, like where I'm standing right now. You can see nothing, no one is there. And if someone attacks me and I want to call someone for help, and as I was saying, that tool should be, used in any kind of situation, cold, hot, rural area, urban area, and all whatnot, but particularly where no one is around you and you are looking for some help. Right now, no one is around me. So what these gadgets will do, we need some serious research. We are in a really bad shape if we do not have such kind of things in the market right now, or if our research in universities and in industries are doing nothing in this regard, then it is a shame. What a shame. Someone who is in a situation like me may be attacked, maybe, something can happen while I'm making this video, but there is no rescue. Anyways, so I have presented you the seriousness of the situation, and look forward to your solutions. Maybe there are some ideas that you have, maybe you have seen such examples, or you have suggestions to move things forward. So keep sharing, and I will come back to you with another video. Thanks, bye. All right, so as you saw in this video, I was mentioning about the lack of technology, and if we are in environment where we are susceptible to attack, where we are prone to dangers, then we need sound measures. So that was just to set the context of the lack of enough IT infrastructure. And in line with the Nirbhaya rape Kand, if there was some kind of smart jewelry available, then perhaps some signal could have been given to her parents, to her friends. Although in India we talk nowadays about taxi system and all whatnot, I'm not very much up to date on that, but certainly smart devices can be of great help there, at least in signaling the location of the victim, and helping police agencies, CBI and others in figuring out what was the matter, and having more reliability on the information that could be used to track cases such as those of Sushant Singh Rajput and so on, where we are shooting an arrow in the dark and trying to make hypotheses. So technology could be a booster there, and we should look forward to technology. So what is Industry 4.0? Industry 4.0 has evolved from its predecessors, which were mechanization, mass production, automation, and nowadays we are talking about cyber physical systems, heading towards cognitive systems. So all these industry versions have in their fundamental numeritization of data or digitization. So Industry 4.0 relies on 9 pillars, which are presented here. These 9 pillars are autonomous robots, simulation, horizontal and vertical system integration, industrial Internet of Things, cybersecurity, cloud, additive manufacturing, augmented reality, big data, and analytics. So I see many young population sitting among the crowd, and there were also very qualified researchers, colleagues among us. So these technologies are seen in positive light, and hopefully they can be used for supply chain planning in a positive perspective, but at least the ground has been set by presenting these 9 pillars. Now, modern supply chains, they suffer from a number of problems. The very first problem we can talk about is lack of buyer-supplier information system integration. From my experience in supply chain projects here in Canada, we have come to the conclusion that A buyer may be technologically advanced, but its supplier may be using very outdated system. And if it is the only supplier or one of the very few suppliers, then the quality of the products is at risk. The quality of the product is jeopardized. And accordingly, several bottleneck issues arise. Accordingly, several ethical questions come into perspective, and so on. So supply chains here need to be agile, need to be responsive, need to be managed in an adaptive, flexible, dynamic manner. And that hinges to a great extent on how sophisticated they are, how well leveraged they are by the power of IT or information technology. So I am on slide number 8 right now, where I will talk about research opportunities. Now, I am very thankful to Sudhanshu for advising me on the topic to present, keeping in light the audience interest, because often we as professors, we as researchers are selling our research. We are presenting what our students are doing. We are never given any topic. So when we are presenting our achievements in one way or the other, or highlighting the accomplishment of our students. But giving a topic may sometimes open new windows of opportunity for collaboration. So I have written these 10 problems in mind today, this morning, keeping into account that we are all struggling to keep our projects alive. We are all trying to work together, and we are all looking for funding opportunities for the betterment of our students, for the success of our projects. So let's see if these problems or research opportunities make sense to you, and if you have anything new to contribute. Because for me, just monetary involvement of project is not the way to reach the zenith of success. We need to advance academically. We need to contribute sound ideas. We need to share our diversity, diverse opinions based on the country we are living, and see how we can mutually benefit, how we can together contribute to a wider knowledge. So these are 10 research problems. So let's go through them one by one. In the coming slides, they may not necessarily be in the same order, but you will get a sense of the problems I'm trying to present. So the first topic, that digitization can be used or leveraged in the theme of sustainable supply chain management, is for project selection. Now, project planning, project selection, project management, time management are very widely discussed topics, and they are very crucial. So when we are talking about digitization, we have to see whether they are helpful in any ways in improving our current situation. So we could look into problems such as which supply chain projects digitization is worth going for. If we are talking about buyer-supplier information system capability or compatibility, will digitization do any good? So if my buyer is using an advanced SAP system and I am using legacy system, are we one-to-one? Or do we need to make some modifications? If so, what, how, which type of projects should each one of us involve, are challenging decisions that require our attention. Now, since we are talking about supply chains, so the focus should not be kept away from product lifecycle management, or PLM as we say in abbreviated form. So digitization can, accelerate our forward supply chains. It can accelerate the forward loop, but many of us are advocates of sustainability. We want to raise the flag high for green supply chains, for the love of our planet, for the love of our Mother Earth, and for the love of our kids. So let's see if digitization can assist in reverse logistics. How can it move forward the reverse supply chains? So we have to look into both forward and reverse supply chains for harnessing the full potential of digitization. Feel free to ask any questions if you have. So Sudhanshu, are you able to hear me?
Yeah, ma'am. Yes.
Sure,
I'm here
thanks.
with you.
So the second problem is about tasks management. So this may involve task planning, task prioritization, task optimization, and many other related issues. Now, Gantt charts or other scheduling problems are widely discussed in production planning literature. They have been used for a while in agile manufacturing and in cellular layout planning. So here, when we are talking about the context of supply chains, we are seeing a bigger picture than just limiting ourselves to cells or limiting ourselves to manufacturing units. So when we talk about project prioritization, we have to look into whether supply chains are able to do end-to-end seamless integration across the various tiers of the supply chain. So when we are talking about the tiers of supply chain, I am bringing in focus the notion of globalization or globalism. So, is digitization a cure to global linking of supply chains? If so, how? Which tasks of supply chain need to be prioritized, need to be accelerated? Because at times the whole integration may not be possible for the lack of time, money, and resources. It may not be worth digitizing. On the other hand, if you want to digitize, then which tasks should be prioritized so that the principle of Pareto's rule or the crucial ones, the very critical ones, should be followed. So project task prioritization is certainly a problem that can be seen from the angle of digitization for sustainable supply chain management. So which supply chain tasks require attention? How should we pick those tasks? Which are the best methods available? And does use of digitization necessarily contribute to sustainability? So my management colleagues may want to explore from this angle as well, different from the engineering colleagues who are trying to measure or quantify more the advantages vis-a-vis projecting where supply chains of future will stand, where they will move ahead to. So digitization is seen in a positive light, but is it also positive for sustainable performance? If so, how, when, under what circumstances? And if not, then what are the hindrances? So for me, the relationship of digitization and sustainability is not one-to-one. So a research problem for budding researchers, because many of young researchers are sitting here, the college-going students, and so on, is to do this hypothesis testing, whether digitization and sustainability are related, and so on. The third research opportunity could be exploring the potential of simulation for supply chain planning. Now, simulation is not a new technique. Supply chains have been using simulation for a while, but due to the invasion of supply chains by modern technologies, we have enormous amount of data heaping into our tables, heaping into our computers and desks. Just imagine the linking of internet to any supply chain itself quadruples or multiplies by so many times the amount of information that is available. So if we want to simulate the supply chain, and I often give the example of blood supply chain in my simulation class, that if you will look at the blood collection units, the blood can be donated at hospitals, it could be donated at local clinics, it could also be collected by Anganwadi, Mahila in local villages and so on. So in other words, the blood collection can happen at many places. And blood is such a time-sensitive, fresh produce that needs very delicate attention, because this blood is going to be used for transfusion, is going to be help dying patient and so on. So a great level of sensitivity, carefulness, and quality management is required. So in order to plan the logistics of blood supply chain across such wide number of units, in India, we also have a lot of private clinics. So think about pharmacies, private clinics, hospitals, and then government hospitals and so on, and in a city, across cities, then across states and so on, and the blood could be supplied anywhere in India. So let's say even at the state, from moving from state level to country level. So there is a need for such large scale simulations for particularly sensitive products like blood. As I mentioned here, we can move here from the blood to, mango supply chains, we can move it to hotel, let's say bed sheet supply chains and so on. So I often say to my students that we do not need, very high agenda of drones and missiles to move forward in supply chain assessment. You can look at very fundamental things around you, such as recently in Roorkee, to visit Professor Dharmendra Singh, and during my return from Roorkee to Delhi, I saw so many sugarcane fields, and I just stopped by one of the sugarcane producers, as we will say, Kisan, or someone who was making good on the roadside, just out of my curiosity to get hold of some pure good. But in talking to that person, unknowingly, I realized that we can get some very crucial feedback, such as to how early we should plan the demand, where we should sell. And I do not have access to that video right now, otherwise I would share with you that often we do not have certainty about how much we will sell. So when I asked him कि आपका गुड़ पूरे जितना भी आप बनाते हैं एक दिन में पूरा बिक जाता है, तो वो, so he said with more than 100% certainty that yes, सब बिक जाता है. But when we will talk from, let's say, the bigger manufacturing plants or bigger organizations perspective, we are looking at so many uncertainties. We have sales department knocking doors of accounting department, knocking doors, who are in turn knocking doors of production planning, and in turn chasing the design department and so on. So likewise, you can see that with the digitization, perhaps, this knocking of doors and to and fro of information, which is not clear, which is not on same terms, can introduce large amount of delays. So through simulation, we can foresee, we can track and trace sensitive products, we can figure out where we should supply, at what time, and so on. So simulation has great potential for supply chain management, and depending upon the product. So as I was saying, that you can look at mangoes, you can look at singhara, and you can look at tomatoes, you can look at your genda flowers and so on, which many of us ignore. Even when I was in India, I was not paying attention because we just take them as our everyday commodities. But for budding researchers, for university students, for people who are launching themselves into academic careers, these are some very simple problems that you can look for. I mean, many Indian women like to wear salwar kurta, but they are just limited to tailors. They don't really care about the logo that goes into the dress they are wearing, the dye that is used to color their fabric, the print their cloth has, the origin of the threads that is used to make that dress. And so when we say fiber to finish, this concept should be applied in real life. It is not just, a magazine called Fiber to Finish, or it is not just the, job of Ankita Lokhande to show that I'm wearing a nice sari or a nice dress. You as supply chain researchers should dig deeper into all what you are wearing, all what you are consuming, or all what you're offering as a service, to figure out all what goes into developing that product and service and associated problems. I see that India has a competitive edge over others because we have access to ground data. Here in Canada, let's say if you want to buy milk, you will go to the superstore and you will buy a canned milk or a container milk or a milk carton, and you will get 4 or 5 liters of milk at a time and you will consume it. That's good. But we do not know which cow was that, or how far that milk is coming from, because everything is provided to us as a product. But for you as supply chain students, you could figure out whether it is cow's milk or buffalo's milk, whether it should be boiled or not boiled, what is the quality of the milk, how viscous it is, what is the consistency, Should it be given to a newborn baby? Should it be used to make yogurt? Because during my visit to India last year, I have seen that the same company, Amul and Parag, which were supplying milk when I was doing my education in India back in early 1990s, we are still holding on to the same companies, but we are not getting the same quality of yogurt from the same milk. So when my sisters here who are sitting are making yogurt, and if you see that the yogurt is not the way it should look like, the way you buy from halwai, then you should question it. Why there are threads in the milk? Why there is thread in the yogurt? You should not just consume because you have given 30-40 rupees to the chai wala or to the local store for buying milk. I mean, you are neither you are doing any ihsan on each other by buying or selling milk. If the product quality is bad, you should question. And simulation could be your tool. You could develop software, simulation softwares, which could trace the supply of milk from the very farmer to your home and see what could cause such degradation of quality and so on. So coming back to slide 11, we should look into how digitization can help, because when we are talking about traceability through softwares, through collection of data, already the computer, already the data collection equipments come into picture, and therefore digitization certainly helps break the silos. If digitization was not there, then your father goes to the local, to the neighbor or to the local, doodwala, and he brings some milk and you drink tea in the morning and the job is done. But if you will look at digitization perspective, and PM Shri Narendra Modi nowadays is talking a lot about smart cities and digital India and things like that. So you could talk to him. You could also talk on my behalf, that I learned, or I saw Professor Awasthi talking in this lecture and she was referring to you, is that we have to go to the very basics from the milk we drink, from the food we consume. We do not want sick kids. We do not want kids with polio. We do not want kids who are vomiting every now and then. We don't want kids who are, having erratic behavior and so on, because our food has such a great impact on their personal lifestyle, and our kids are used to, watching internet and TV and all these things. They are kind of addicted to media or to TVism. So there is a need to Sudhanshu, please stop me if I am taking more than usual time. Please wave me flag 10 minutes before my prescribed time. So we have to, really address these fundamental issues, because giving polio drops to kids after they have suffered from polio is a wrong way to address the problem. So in other words, proactive disaster management, proactive planning is better than reactive approaches. So scenario simulation can help there. We as researchers should do studies, should find out what are the technologies needed in this regard, and should we have a centralized system. So for example, when I was giving you the example of blood supply chain, should we have software, simulation software that monitors the hospital, and if I click the hospital, then it helps me monitor all the associated clinics with it, all the associated centers with it. So what should we go bottom up, or should we go top down? Should we look at centralized approaches, or should we go for distributed computing and things like that? So these are critical issues when supply chain simulation comes into picture. Another very important, I'm on slide 12 right now, is about value chain mapping. So just, selling the product from, or let's say transmitting or sharing the product, sending the product from the producer to the customer is not enough, because otherwise I will just do the things the way we want. So if there is Raksha Bandhan coming and sister has to send Rakhi to their brother, then they can go through many ways. They can send through flight, they can go by feet, or they can send a 1, 2, 3 greetings card, or maybe another approach is possible, train or bus and so on and so forth. Or maybe a third option is possible. The thing is, many of us look at cost. Okay, whichever is cheaper, we will do that. Maybe I should just phone my brother and that will be enough. So the thing is, you can deliver your product through many options. Nowadays, we have many options at hold. We are not like the early 80s or even before, when a son or when some mother's kid is going abroad, they cannot talk to them unless they return back to India. So nowadays we have so many options. You can use YouTube. We are using Google Meet and so on and so forth. So there are so much of media options available to reach your desired objective. As I was giving the example of Raksha Bandhan. So just available options is not enough in supply chain. You may have different ways to improve supply chain performance. The goal should be to figure out what is the value addition. So if application of a certain technique, here digitization, improves the value out of my supply chain, then I should go for it. So value chain mapping is very essential in application of digitization. Just applying digitization will not help. So it is just like saying, in a village, if the people do not have they may be just having, let's say someone is reading books and knows about internet, but they do not have access to computer, then it does not make sense, because the knowledge is only limited to theoretical knowledge. Likewise, vice versa. Someone may give a computer out of love to their old parents who do not know how to read and write, then also the purpose is not filled, because the computer is just lying and getting dhul garda and nothing works. So in supply chain, value identification is very important. Value mapping across various levels of supply chain is very important to see the full potential of digitization. And we must remove non-value added activities and look for areas where potential of IT could be exploited, so that there is some value addition. Now I'm on slide number 13. So trust is a widely discussed issue in supply chains. There are many players which come into picture when we talk about supply chains. Quite often we are talking about tier to tier. So when we are talking about producers, we are talking about only producers to producers, or the one level upstream or one level downstream. We are not flowing through all the tiers. So when we are talking about trust management, I am talking about members of one hierarchy, also known as horizontal integration players. So will digitization improve trust among the players at one level and across levels? So when I'm talking about across levels, it is within an enterprise. So does digitization aid in inter and intra-enterprise trust management or not? And we would like to trust, because trust facilitates deals, trust facilitates business. So for budding researchers like Himanshu, they can look into what is the role of trust in buyer-supplier integration, and which technologies, which digital technologies can aid in this regard. One of my students, Suganya, has worked on collaboration planning in supply chains, and we developed a simulation software in Arena. Actually, Professor Tiwari was maybe aware of this. So in my opinion, trust is a very important thing, but not maybe much addressed from management point of view. There may be many views to the same problem, and all of us may not lead to the same conclusions, because we have our own active and passive knowledge built up over years. So it is a topic that is worth exploring, and we can look into it from digital perspective. Now, innovation is the need of today. Many enterprises die if they are not innovative. Many organizations receive funding in the name of creativity and innovation. So digitization certainly gives you an upper hand, gives you a leading edge over others in moving your projects forward, in moving your actions forward. But how? So innovation itself is a challenging thing, how to be innovative. If there is a perfect solution to innovation, then I mean, we become a Tata Birla or Ambani in one day. So innovation creation is very important. Innovation is the need of today. It helps organizations move forward and not just survive. So how can digitization assist in innovation? Could be, we can look into that. Not sure if Professor Kannan is here, but this is also something worth exploring. So here in this slide 14, I am talking about digital footprint mapping. So often in, journals like International Journal of Production Research or Operations Research Journal or Production Planning, we are giving much focus to carbon mapping, okay, or eco mapping or carbon footprint mapping. But nowadays we're also looking into digitization. So digital footprint mapping is perhaps the need of today, and we should link the digital footprint mapping to our carbon capping, to our globalization goals, to our UN Connect initiatives, and so on. So this is also something promising. Sudhanshu, you can look with your students on how United Nations is looking at digital footprint towards sustainability, towards their sustainability goals, and so on. So in my opinion, it is again very promising topic. Slide number 15 right now. So in slide 15, we are talking about service quality. Now, we are in education sector, so my colleagues from IIT Roorkee and very prominent researchers, which Sudhanshu has mentioned. So, so service organizations are more and more coming into picture. We have, Narayan Murthy from Infosys and Ajim Premji from Wipro and Tata Consultancy Services, Birla Ji, and so on and so forth. So for me, I am not I'm not providing here the list of all service organizations here, but to name a few, service quality is very important, and the developed nations are at an edge over developing countries like India and China, because the level of service quality here is much higher compared to the countries where I have been. Let's say it in this way, I have not been everywhere, but wherever I have been, I see that these countries, the Nordic countries or the North American countries, have an edge over India at this point of time in service quality offerings. So I'm not saying about research, but if you go to an airport, if you go to a bank, if you go to a hospital, the way you are treated, the service you received is at par. So now that in India we are talking about many Yojana, Gramin Udyog Yojana, and so on and so forth, we are also talking about, in railways, Indian Railways. Actually, very recently I have been to Kanpur and so impressed by the cleanliness at the train station. So I'm very thankful to the initiative of Yogi ji and Modi ji on making India or moving India towards a better goal. So no doubt that if they continue to be in their roles and are given enough support, India will see the light of the day and maybe at par with these countries that I'm citing as an example nowadays. So let's support them. Now, talking about service quality. So digitization assist in service quality because you can track customer complaints. Often in India, I have seen, which may be still pertinent now, that let's say you went to buy something from a store. Your son went to buy a soap from a local grocery store, and he got a open soap. The package was bad, or maybe you bought a toy, you got some khilona from the shop, and when your daughter started to play with it, its handle broke. It's no more good. and you go back to the shopkeeper and say, I bought an hour ago and I played with it, it broke. Now return my money. Or let's say in India, when I was there, if you lost your train, if you were not in time, you just lost the money that you paid in the ticket. So in other words, an opportunity lost was lost. So which may be the situation in India nowadays as well, I do not know. But so in other words, if you got a broken product from the shop, the seller is not willing to take it back, instead may get angry with you or rebuke you and say that aap hi ne tod diya hoga, le jao wapas, things like that. So these are not, good service quality indicators. They are because क्योंकि वो इसी पर्सपेक्टिव से देख रहे हैं कि सामान बिक गया तो हो गया, हमारा काम खत्म हो गया. अब वो टूटे, आप उनको इससे मतलब नहीं कि आप दोबारा आएंगे कि नहीं आएंगे, क्योंकि आपको आना ही है. That's the mentality of Indian sellers. So to sell them, digitization may not be easy. We have to set high goals of service quality. For example, here if you want to go buy a t-shirt in the shopping centers, you can wear it and then buy. But in India, if you want to buy a shirt for your father or buy a shirt for your brother, you just say shirt dikhaiye, aapko shirt pasand hai, so you buy it, right? So you cannot test it, and maybe when you open it, the buttons are broken or something, you cannot do anything about it. Your 500, 600 or maybe more rupees are wasted. So the service quality goals should be that you should delight the customer. And Kano's model, many of our talented researchers are here, that our goal should not be to just throw the product on the customer, like many of the Indian grocery shopkeepers, is to delight the customer. If they sell you a shirt with broken buttons, then they should accept it and instead either refund your money, or should give you another shirt which is good quality, which is currently not happening. So if we take this concept of service quality in developing countries, I'm sure this happens in many other Muslim countries as well. So we have to set, or in Turkey, so we have to set high standards of service quality. And in order to improve service quality in these developing countries context, we should not ignore the customer complaints, because often we don't like criticism. If someone says to me, your shirt is not looking good, or you are not wearing sari correctly, I will be upset. Instead of asking the person, how should I improve my, let's say, dressing sense? Or how can I look better? How should I do better makeup, for the girls who are listening to me? So we are never questioning the criticism. We are never soliciting improvements. If someone says to us that we are bad, we are right away angry and we turn the person away. So this is, contrary to, or very detrimental to service quality improvement. So for a service quality assessment, we should collect data on customer complaints, analyze them, and improve them, because there lies the goals of success. And digitization can help you collect data. So if your customer, selects, like at Delhi Indira Gandhi International Airport, if you use the toilets and they ask you, are you happy, are you not happy, and this and that, and you press a button. So at least, the airport terminals can track how many people were happy and not happy, and so on. So digitization could be very useful in service quality management by helping collect data on customer complaints, by monitoring them in real time. And if we talk about traffic analytics, this is more important than ever. A broken car on the road or a traffic accident on the road can create hours of traffic jam. And those who live in India are very familiar with traffic jam. We are doing better, but still an incident can create a ripple effect in traffic, and we do not want that. So if there is digitization, maybe the incident information can be communicated to ambulance in real time, can be communicated to police agencies in real time, and they can arrive in time, and the traffic jam can be sorted out quickly than a priori. So in my opinion, there is a lot to do there. Even cross-country comparison can be helpful. So those researchers who are looking into, let's say, looking at how service digitization affects service quality in India versus Canada can collaborate with me. I will be very happy to, conduct the similar study in Canadian context or provide my own data for application in Indian context and so on. Going to slide number 16 about liability. So often if a disaster happens, if a mistake happens, if a problem occurs, in the context of supply chain, let's say there is low sales, or let's say there is a lot of defective product being generated in a production line, then who is liable? It's a very, so finger pointing or name shaming or name blaming is very easy to do, and those who are naive may be at risk. So with the help of digital technologies or digitization, it may be possible to hold the right person right and wrong person wrong. In other words, the attributability or the liability of the people who are involved in any mishap can be better traced. So as a result of traceability, the right could be rewarded and the wrong could be punished. So liability attribution improves greatly in my opinion. But having said that, we have to involve the right players in the blockchain. We have to look at how this liability attrition affects organizational performance as a result. Is it really needed? How about I just fire the employee who is responsible and not to do any digitization because it involves some money? But will it be helpful in the long run? What if a new employee comes and does the same thing? So in other words, unethical bottlenecks and time to market issues could be addressed through liability attrition, and digitization can be of some help there. Now, collaboration is much needed today. No man can survive singly unless you are the only person on the planet. So collaboration is needed, and digitization can aid in collaboration. It can provide resources. So on Facebook, many of us are finding our lost friends, our lost family members. It is no less than collaboration online. Likewise, for supply chains, if I do not want to buy milk powder for my kids from China, I can look into Algeria, I can look into Mexico, I can look into Spain, and I can look into perhaps Sweden or elsewhere, because just cost is not the only criteria. Of course, we, particularly those coming from underprivileged families, are very prone to go for the cheap. And India, as we are often said, that agar koi cheez muft ki mil rahi hai, to you will go and take it, irrespective of whether it is ethical or unethical. And as a result, there is a lot of crime in politics. तो अगर आपने गरीबों को 10 साड़ी बांट दी तो सारे वोट आप ही के हो गए. So this is, this happens in reality. But to talk about collaboration planning in the context of supply chains, we can do information sharing for the betterment. So I was giving the example of legacy and SAP in buyer and supplier organizations. Irrespective of their incompatibility, at least digitization of information can lead to some transfer. So if I am using Microsoft Word and my friend Sudhanshu is also using Microsoft Word, then irrespective of our context, we are able to share our common knowledge through Microsoft Word. Or likewise, you are using Google Meet. So many of us, there were 102 or so participants when I joined in. So all of us are collaborating right now in this knowledge creation. And it would not be possible if internet did not exist, if Google Meet did not exist, or if the Doon University students and faculty did not exist. So this is a real example of collaboration planning. And same situation could be used by, other enterprise or manufacturers in real time. So for example, tomorrow, if someone wants to sell or open a business in ganne ka juice, then you can contact, because nowadays in India, everyone has access to phone, right? And you can also call a phone using your computer. So it is almost possible, and Professor Tiwari works in the area of agriculture supply chains, and there are many of my other dear colleagues at NITI who are looking into IoT application in agriculture supply chains, is that it is possible to trace to the very end your customer, to the very end your supplier, both both upstream and downstream. So collaboration can make things happen in supply chain. We are not in the situation where for Diwali you have to rely only on Chinese patake because they are $2 or few dollars lesser than your Indian diya maker and so on. So we have to not only look at costing. If for $2 I am getting a diya which my Indian brother is selling and which my Swedish brother is selling, then whichever is good, I will go for it, irrespective of the country. If let's say the appearance is what concerns to me, then I will go for wherever it is selling. So when we are talking about supply chains, we are looking at overall gains from supply chain perspective, and collaboration can be helpful. Without collaboration, you do not know which country is producing bananas, whether Africa should go for cocoa supply chain. Okay? There is rice production. We have this Assam, Darjeeling chai. So why some products are at an edge over others? Why some businesses are more fruitful in specific countries despite several countries having the same product, maybe offering better quality at lower price, still not being successful. So maybe there is not collaboration. Maybe there is a lack of transparency. If I do not know Sudhanshu, I will perhaps not be able to communicate all these ideas that I'm sharing right now. So lack of transparency is a big hindrance in supply chain success, and digitization would be helpful there. Last but not the least is digitization can help make supply chains risk-proof, or in other words, it can help in disaster resilience. So nowadays we talk a lot about coronavirus, and all of us are shut inside our homes and so on. So we are in one way or the other mercy of healthcare practitioners to figure out a vaccine that can help treat this coronavirus situation. So digitization can help you track the spread of virus. It can help you track how many cases are dead, how many are infected, how many are under evaluation, and so on. So in other words, cyber traceability is possible, and as a result, you can track better, you can monitor better, and you can take effective decisions. So if your brother far off in, let's say, China or Liberia is sick, through internet, you can ask them to stay at their respective homes and not visit you for a Rakhi or something. So supply chains can be very helpful. Likewise, if I have to, let's say, send a fish, let's say, from here to Argentina, then it is possible that a pirate attacks the boat in which I'm sending my shipped fish, my canned fish, let's say, and so on. So many things can happen, and if a pirate attacks your ship and takes away all the containers of tuna fish which were being shipped to Buenos Aires, then you have no track of this. But if digitization exists, if the container was RFID tagged, if the ship in which it was tagged, at least you can say that which port it left and where did that attack happen. So did it happen after the container left Mexico, border of Mexico, or did it leave after the Panama Canal, or did it arrive at Chile, or did it go in Peru, and so on and so forth. So disaster resilience here in the context of supply chains for me is that we are able to foresee the dangers, and with better traceability, with better monitoring in real time, we are able to help ourselves better, help our supply chain better. So now I'm going to play a video which is about my interview with a local newspaper here in French. And please have a look at this. This video is in French. So I'm not sure if all of you will be able to get it at the same level as those who know French. But in this video, I am talking about the importance of collaboration planning, because often we as researchers are looking for working with industries, looking for corporate projects, looking for municipal projects. And despite our academic qualifications, we are shunned away. So we end up looking like beggars at the feet of corporate industrialists. So please look at this video and then I will continue.
J'ai fait mes études en France. Dans France, j'étais impliquée dans plusieurs projets pour améliorer le transport de marchandises dans la ville. J'ai aussi travaillé sur le transport cybernétique, qui sont des véhicules électriques sans chauffeur. Et puis, on a travaillé sur la gestion de flotte et le rechargement de batteries des véhicules. On a fait des études sur comment réduire la congestion qui vient des camions, en fait. Et on a testé quelques scénarios. Avec ce scénario, on est arrivé à un résultat que l'utilisation de technologie est la meilleure solution. C'est un élément important pour bouger l'économie dans la ville. Alors, dans mes études courantes, en fait, on essaye de mieux utiliser la technologie pour le transport de personnes et le transport de biens. Je vois ici que l'utilisation de transport public est assez bien, en fait. C'est très bien. Ça mise en compte aussi qu'on a beaucoup de choses à faire parce que le réseau de transport est arrivé à un niveau saturé. Dans les autres villes où j'ai travaillé avant, on travaille sur les problèmes de comment améliorer la capacité. Notre circuit est complètement utilisé, mais il y en a encore des utilisateurs à servir. La construction, c'est quelque chose qu'on doit regarder en parallèle avec le problème de circulation. Parce que le problème de circulation et le problème de construction ne vont pas les mains en main, comme on dit. Alors, c'est un défi pour nous. On a fait des simulations sur les véhicules d'autopartage, justement où sont les meilleurs endroits où il faut remplacer ces véhicules. On est aussi en train de discuter si on remplace la flotte par les véhicules électriques, comment ça va fonctionner, quels seront les défis à adresser. On a aussi fait les études de simulation avec Pôle de Montréal, justement pour évaluer les scénarios et les stratégies pour réduire la congestion qui est liée au camion. Quand on parle de l'analyse des données, et maintenant, on a beaucoup plus d'informations analysées pour en fait prédire la congestion dans la ville. Il est très, très important que les chercheurs, les académiciens soient impliqués dans ces groupes de table. Parce que souvent, ça arrive que les gens qui font des recherches sont loin des enjeux. Vous me demandez les solutions, mais est-ce que je suis vraiment impliqué dans ces problèmes? Peut-être pas. Le point que je souhaite mettre avec cette discussion, que les académiciens et les personnes qui travaillent au terrain doivent travailler ensemble.
All right, so in this video, I was saying that we should work hand in hand with all the involved stakeholders. And often when we are talking about the road construction and other projects, we ignore the side player. So for example, I am talking about improving the traffic flow or reducing traffic congestion in the city. And I may say that, okay, let's make better roads. Let's use, high quality concrete or do the cementing here and so on and so forth. But we cannot overlook the construction that is going on in this specific video. So if there is construction 24 hours or almost half of the year, then whatever proposal you give will not work because the construction has blocked the road and so on. Likewise, in the context of India, if we are trying to improve, let's say, the traffic in Mumbai, let's say in Worli area or near Andheri, Bandra, we take whichever example you want. You are sitting in an auto and there is traffic coming from all directions. So you may blame the traffic signal that it is too long or too less, or you may blame the absence of a traffic person there who can say go left to the right. At least we should know which direction to go. If you are stuck, a scooter can come anywhere from behind, it can come from left or right, it can just come and crash into your face and things like that. So for me, if we talk about, let's say, traffic improvement projects at IIT Bombay or with NITI, then we have to look at the very basics first. So you cannot propose a hi-fi road Or I mean, Gadkari ji can claim for the Pune Express, or in India and the north we have the Yamuna Ganga barrage. So all these are very good examples, and I'm very thankful to the transport minister nowadays that in India we are seeing such good roads which are as effective as here. But the thing is, if we are talking about the local galiyan, as I was saying in the case of Andheri or Bandra, where you go to buy some, some murmure for your kid, you are just, half of the time wiping off the sweat from your face and holding your hands. You do not have any shopping leisure. You do not have any shopping experience. If your husband comes late, you are always worried whether he got kidnapped in a road accident or whatever. So in other words, the situation of traffic in India is really bad. If we have made some auto routes better, if there are some highways, that's good. But the ground situation, there is nali near the Galia and all whatnot. So if we are talking about, or even I mean, there are some Hare Krishna followers here. Even if we talk about Bake Bihari Temple, where I was recently, these are holy places and they require more attention. Actually, PM Modi ji and Yogi ji should pay attention to the cleanliness of these places and make sure that no one slips on the road, no one's feet is crushed by other person's feet, and things like that. So we can talk about digitization, but we have to do the base case scenario first. We have to first fix the situation where base case could be applied. So for example, Reliance has given one phone to each and every corner, each and every person in India. That's very good. So nowadays, Indian sabji wala and bhaji wala can talk wherever they want, can sell wherever they want. That's a good step, but that's not all. Because if they are not able to see who are their best buyers and to pick, then they are still, still at still one level below. So even if we say कि उन्होंने phone से 4 लोगों से बात कर ली, this is the best buyer. But if our villagers, if our kisan is able to see on a computer how much time it would take to travel, how much time it would take to store their goods, which is the real deal in India, particularly so much of grain is wasted in Godam and in storage areas. So all this could be assisted with the help of digitization. We can have advanced sensors to monitor the inventory levels in shipping areas and stores. And it could be a very effective solution. And since in India, we are developing good technology at lower cost, PM Modi has initiated Make in India manufacturing initiative. So let's work towards it. Let's see this in positive light. And as I said, that we have to fix the base scenario first. So putting, let's say, traffic sensors or putting advanced cameras will not help unless people start walking north to south or left or east to west. At least the lane should be separated and people should walk where they are designated to. Out of respect for each other's life, because Indian people are great people with high, rich cultural heritage and so on. But from a technical point of view, some things need to be organized and digitization can help. So now some brief overview of my previous work. So I am working in the area of car sharing, and my French video that you just saw was depicting the problems of collaboration. So we are working at simulation models to project the car sharing growth in the city of Montreal. I have also worked with Port of Montreal to figure out what is the truck-related congestion at the entrances and how can we minimize them. So with the help of my student, Vignesh Alagation, who did a great job, we figured out that if there was technology implantation at terminals where the drivers were getting down from their trucks for documents verification, then a lot of delays could be avoided. And as you can see in this picture, that the Port of Montreal is next to the city. So unlike the port of Visakhapatnam or elsewhere, Pondicherry and so on, here any road, any blockage in the port will have a direct impact on the city because city is just next to the port. So for supply chain people or for traffic people, logistics people, they can refer to my work presented here. We did a good job here in simulating initiatives for reducing trucking related emissions. I have also worked on sustainable transport policy evaluation. This could be of interest to municipal operators, policy planners, as to which policy should be effective in sustainability. So for digitization also, whether it should be incentivized, who should get rebates, what kind of rebates should be given, where such technology should be installed, and particularly for smart cities concept, this model can be very helpful. So this work on sustainable transport policy evaluation relies on system dynamic approaches, which are advanced strategic level approaches for complex dynamic problem thinking. So very effective. Then in dynamic route guidance, we developed the data mining based models to figure out the shortest path, identical to the GPS used in modern cars. Stakeholder collaboration planning is very important among all the stakeholders. So as I was giving the example that sometimes the stakeholders are evident and sometimes not. So for example, if I am building a road, all who is involved in the construction of the road are easy to figure out, the construction companies, the traffic companies, the municipal operators, but those such as construction people who are hindering the creation of new roads or traffic should not be ignored. I also worked on location planning of consolidation centers. So we do not want that big trucks enter into the city and disturb our sleep. So we do not want the trucks to disturb our sleep, but we want our ice cream to be available whenever we want and eat it or watch it, eat it while watching and so on. So for location planning also, we can have advanced models so that we have good logistics, sustainable logistics, and digitization could be helpful. So in this work, we did multi-criteria based decision modeling. In the next slide, we are looking at a reverse logistics of aircraft components. So I gave you the example of Bell helicopters. In fact, in my presentation at IIT Kanpur during the last year's SOM 2019 conference, and also in my ORC conference in 2018 at IIT Bombay, I have presented my simulation works for ports and these aircraft works. So here we are looking at the traceability issue. So an airplane, after it becomes obsolete or after it becomes old, just stands in the parking lot. So could some components be reused, and where, how, when, etc. So which technology should be involved to figure their usability, to figure their traceability, and so on. So many companies in India could be interested in this, many aviation companies. Then we can also look at exploratory scenario simulation. We are also working in this area using techniques such as fuzzy cognitive mapping and others, where the goal is to look into how our supply chains would behave if an unexpected event occurs, or how our supply chains of future would look like. So projection, I mean, our imagination has no limits. We can think as far as we want. So some exploratory models can be developed using these techniques, using fuzzy axiomatic design and so on. Then data analytics is used a lot.
Ma'am, sorry to interrupt you,
Yes.
ma'am. Anjali, ma'am, Sudhanshu.
Yes, yes.
Ma'am, we have lot many queries. Queries come up.
Okay.
We have, they want to have a lot of queries are coming up. Can we take few questions also in between?
Okay, sure. So I
allowed,
will,
please.
if you permit me, then I will just finish this presentation, because otherwise our presentation may take longer than usual. I will reply to each of the queries. Please keep writing.
Sure, sure.
Because I am on the presentation slide, so I was not looking at them. So I am on slide number 29, only 9 more slides to go. So for traffic analytics is very important nowadays. And we are talking about data from cameras, data from sensors, and so on. So we can do that, but for researchers, they can also do into Twitter analytics. So a lot of text mining work, bibliometric analysis, tweet mining, social media crawling, Facebook, large network analysis, social graphs analysis. All this is very helpful for supply chain traceability as well. So if I need to buy, let's say, wings of an aircraft, then I can trace as far as I want using these social media analytics. Slide number 30 talks about electromobility. So electromobility is, one of the potential or promising futures for replacement of gas. So digitization can help figure out where do we stand in this area, and if we should, which type of energy option we should promote, and which type of charging stations we should have, charging policies, fast charging, slow charging, day charging, night charging, whether they should be installed in residential homes, in parking lots, or under the shopping centers as shown in the picture. Slide number 31 is about connectivity. So in parallel with Narendra Modi's Smart City initiative, many countries are nowadays also moving in this direction. So smart city is a connected city. So people inside the buildings can talk to the cars on the road. So a good example is your Uber and Ola. If you book any one of them on your phone, then a vehicle is available to your service when needed. But this is only level 1. Another level could be that the vehicle is automatic. So in that case, if the taxi driver is sleeping, or if he is sick or she is sick, then you are not necessarily dependent. And this autonomous vehicle could be under your in the parking area of your apartment complex, or you could just walk nearby and get it. So these are the vehicles of the future, and we are working towards it as part of my chair. So on slide number 32, I have another video in which I talk about smart traffic signals. So okay, so let me play it. Perhaps those who are into traffic management might see some value from what I'm speaking. And in this video, I'm also presenting the challenges in one-to-one adaptability of solutions developed from other countries. Now, this is not done in the Indian context. I was in India, in IT Bombay, to look at its applicability, but at that point of time, I couldn't get to interact with the city officials. But if any one of you has contact with them, perhaps you can communicate my message. So what I am talking here about is the same, that I'm looking forward to collaborate with the best buses or Mumbai police and all traffic agencies and so on. So let's listen to this.
One tough week ahead as far as the commute goes. A perfect storm of traffic jams, exhaust fumes, and short tempers, all exacerbated by what seems like an endless sea of construction signs. Montreal has got some problems right now. And joining us now to talk about it is Anjali Awasthi from the Concordia Institute of Information Systems Engineering. Thanks for joining us.
My
Especially on this holiday, there was no traffic coming in, which is good.
Great to see you.
Thanks for being here. So we have all these construction sites. We have everybody heading back to school, heading back to work tomorrow after this Labor Day weekend. It's known as a period where you just have this traffic nightmare. The city promising there's going to be traffic nightmare. What can be done right now to alleviate the situation?
So, Paul, as we all know, that trucks are one of the major congestion elements in the city, although they are vital to the economy. So in order to minimize the congestion, I would first of all emphasize limiting the movement of trucks during the peak hours, which implies that the city can have some kind of traffic appointment system so that the trucks, they make their coordinated entries at regular time intervals and do not mingle with the regular traffic. So this would already, eliminate.
So I will stop this video here. So you could already see that I was talking about trucks, and trucks could be one of the test elements. Now the situation of trucking may not, so those who are interested can get the slides from Sudhanshu later. I will share with them and you can look at the video at your convenience. It is also available on YouTube. I will also share my YouTube channel. So in this video, as you can see, I was talking about trucks and the size of the trucks, the type of the trucks, the goods they are carrying, and the supply chains they are attributed to are not same in each and every country. Each one of us, their challenges. So in this city, in this video, I was talking about smart traffic signals. And I had not been to India for quite some time when I participated in this TV interview. So when I went to Bombay, and I was mentioning in my talk a few minutes ago that I saw vehicles invading from all directions. So for me, we have to first align the traffic and then implement these signals. So that is why I'm cutting short this video, because we still need to do groundwork before such smart traffic signals could be implemented. So next steps. So these were some of my works. Now, what can we do next? So there is a possibility. So I was planning to organize a Green Supply Chain Management Conference this year, but due to coronavirus situation, it was postponed. But the call for papers is still open. So I am yet to deliberate whether to do it virtually. If not, it will be moved to next year. So this is something for your knowledge. Please consider submitting your works to this conference. Now, digitization helps us make well-planned decisions in the area of inventory management, quality management, product cycle management, and also cross-disciplinary workforce planning of today. So there are many active organizations which are working in the area of digital supply chains. Here are a few of them. Now, I will conclude my talk. This video I will play because this is Trans-Canada Sidewalk Initiative. You can relate it somewhat to Vaishno Devi Yatra. So let's say if you got down at a train station and if you are heading to Vaishno Devi, then you are moving through mountains. But in Canada, we have not only mountains, but deep valleys, and half of the time we are covered with snow. So digitization has great potential. And I'm going to play this video and then I will conclude my talk and will be willing to take up the questions. So this is my open initiative. That means it is my personal initiative, which I am looking at my end. So if anyone wants to work in it, irrespective of their background, anyone can collaborate with me. It could be a housewife, it could be a school going, it could be a cleaner, or it could be even a sweeper. So for this, this is a practical initiative. It could be like a Bhel Puri wala also, or a Haldiram as well. So I am going to play this video. So for this, I am opening the call to anyone, irrespective of their education level, to collaborate, because it is, for me, a practical initiative. And what is required to make this happen. So I have already shared it with my Canadian brothers and sisters here on LinkedIn, and this video has been widely distributed. I'm also sharing it for your attention. If any of this makes sense to you, then please write to me. My coordinates are provided in the next slide. And with this, I will conclude my talk and will take up your questions.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was a really insightful,
So the subject of my talk is Trans-Canada Sidewalk Initiative that I have mentioned in one of my several of my previous videos. So today is the time to maybe explain in more detail about it and the purpose behind it. So as I have mentioned in many of my previous videos that I love walking, and I have been walking for several kilometers, from the very start of my career, but I had never imagined that I would be talking about a Trans-Canadian sidewalk initiative today. So the objective is that often, we hear about great things such as, Great Wall of China and Seven Wonders of the World and things like that. So why not have another wonder for Canada as well with this Trans-Canada Sidewalk Initiative? Right now I have this Montreal bicycle map with me, Carte des voies cyclables du Grand Montréal. So we need to have a bike to use the bike path. But at times we may be in situations where we do not have a bike and we want to go for a walk, and the walk can go as far as you can imagine. So, there is actually no limit to your creativity and to the places where you want to go and on a limited budget. So I am actually raising this initiative, and I'm looking for, people like myself who are willing to support this Trans-Canada Sidewalk Initiative. And the objective of this sidewalk is that along from the very east to the very west and from all way north to the south, we should have a sidewalk that could link, that could allow people to move from one corner of Canada to the other. It is not an easy job. I can understand it will take some time to do, but let's start with it. And I think the first step to go in this direction is to figure out where such sidewalks should exist. Should it connect all the museums of across Canada? Should it connect all the apple orchards across Canada? Should it connect all the forest? Should it be mapped along or in parallel with the autoroutes? Where should such sidewalks be created? So, people who are living in different cities in different type of, regions, some are living in valleys and some are in mountains, some are in plains like myself. So let's share our thoughts on this. Where would you like such sidewalk to be, so that we can map ourselves a route across Canada where the citizens, where the people, community people who would like to have this sidewalk, so that whenever someone wants to have a route, have a route across Canada, they don't have to.
All right, so thank you everyone, and that was all from my talk. I have provided my email address below. My website is also there. You can write to me if I'm not able to reply to your queries here. So I'm now ready to take questions.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. We can have two questions. Any two? Anup, you have a question? Please ask. Anup, can you hear? Please unmute yourself and ask. All right. Can you hear me, ma'am? Am I audible to you?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Right, ma'am. Anup, anyone who would like to ask question can ask one question directly to her. Ma'am, I guess they will like to have more questions with you on email.
Okay,
so
sure.
I will collect, right? Because
Okay,
probably it's a
fine.
networking
Sure.
network. Yeah.
Sure, I'm sharing my
I
email.
will yeah, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So that if there are any questions or follow-ups, very welcome. I am here to, help you, to talk to you. So feel free.
Surely, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for the time and the kind of insights you have given on research perspective of digitization and supply chain sustainability. It was really a great learning for all of us. And we keep bothering you about some kind of research collaborations or research guidance from you, ma'am.
Sure, it will be my pleasure to collaborate with you, to assist you in any way I can. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I'm really sorry because the networking is a bit issue here. I won't be able to come on the video.
Not a problem.
I'm using a mobile connection.
That's okay. Sometimes things happen, but I'm glad finally we are finally able to meet each other on Google Meet. And
True, ma'am. So nice of you, ma'am. We had a really great time with you, ma'am, and it was a really great insights by you. Thank you so much, ma'am, and
thanks,
take care, ma'am, and Hare Krishna, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am. we had a great talk with Professor Anjali Awasthi. Am I audible to you, everyone? Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So we have our guest of the valedictory session arrived, and we are starting the valedictory session. Kindly please stay with us. Soon our Vice Chancellor sir is about to join us. And
Okay.
as far as having queries with Professor Anjali Awasthi, you may send your queries to me. I will forward it to her, or you can have a direct contact with her also. Depends on the kind of the way you want. I have an issue with the network, so I'm joining with another lab I'm getting logged in into. So thanks for the patient hearing here. Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Great. Sorry, it was a kind of connection flaw. I won't be able to give a good see off to Professor Anjali. Uh, Nevertheless, it's okay. We are now into a validatory session now. We have eminent people on board, and I welcome all the people which are there as a guest, and we have a lot many people as the expert. Since we have Professor DPS Verma sir, Professor DPS Verma sir, pranam. We have other people also. Those are well known academicians, and since experts for the validity session, the guest has arrived. Professor Sunil Rai sir, pranam. Professor Rai, pranam sir. So we are actually very shortly starting with, and uh, our Vice Chancellor is joining us through his office. We are joining. We are starting in next 2 minutes.
It got delayed.
We welcome Professor Ravindra Vinayak, sir. Sir, good evening. Professor Sunil Rai, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
It's good to see you, sir, both of you, Professor Vinayak and Professor Rai. Professor H.K. Singh is about to join us. He's one of the guests in the validity session. Our Vice Chancellor, sir, has also joined.
Very good evening, Sudhanshu. Dr. Vinayak here.
Good evening to you, sir. How are you doing, sir? Good to see you, sir. Pranam.
Very fine. Good to see you.
We have with us Professor H.K. Singh, sir. Singh, sir, Pranam. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone. Professor Brown, sir, good afternoon.
Thanks for joining us, sir.
म्यूट करेंगे ओपन सोर्स ठीक अनम्यूट HK Singh. Hello, HK Singh. Excellent get together.
प्रोफेसर डीपीएस वर्मा जी नमस्कार, विराट का प्रणाम स्वीकार करें।
मेरा अनम्यूट था एक्चुअली।
हाँ जी, एजुकेशन जी नमस्ते।
क्या नाइस गेट टुगेदर है।
बिल्कुल जी, अब यही रहे जी पोस्ट कोविड।
We have been made to meet from long distances.
Yeah, exactly.
At least virtually.
कहाँ बनारस, कहाँ लौट तक, कहाँ दिल्ली।
So at least nice to see you physically online.
दिल्ली में ही है ना आप तो? You are in Delhi?
दिल्ली में।
Which part of Delhi?
I'm in East Delhi, Hargobind and Glade near Karkarduma Courts.
सर नमस्कार, स्वदेश।
हाँ जी नमस्कार जी।
सिंह सर नमस्कार।
नमस्कार।
स्वदेश। ठीक है सर।
लखनऊ में ही है सुदेश, कहाँ है?
नहीं है
सुदेश
लखनऊ में सर, लखनऊ में। और कहाँ जाएंगे सर इसमें, और कोई ऑप्शन ही नहीं है। ओके सर।
डिस्टर्बेंस होगी। क्या मतलब क्या है? उतने में ही मैं उसको मैडम ने बुला लिया। बोला सर मैं बाद में आपको कॉल करके बताऊंगा।
ठीक है,
मैडम
फीडबैक मिल जाएगा तो आगे से हम लोग करेंगे। लोग इसमें जुड़ेंगे सही है, इसी से कि वो ज़्यादा लेनी होगी।
ये आ जाएगी कुर्सी लेनी। चलो वो लगा लेंगे, माउथ पार्ट लगा लेंगे अपना। माउथ पार्ट हो गया अपने।
इसको से डिस्कस करो।
हाँ सर, जैसे इंसेक्ट्स के माउथ पार्ट होते हैं ना, इंसेक्ट्स के माउथ पार्ट होते हैं ना सर।
लैपटॉप सर इधर को घुमा लीजिएगा, लैपटॉप इधर को घुमा लीजिए, थोड़ा ये लगेगा अलग अलग लोकेशन। इसको थोड़ा इधर करना।
हाँ इधर रख दीजिए ना उसको। आप जैसा चाहे वैसा कर लीजिए। एक दिन आपको इस कुर्सी पे बैठना है।
अरे सर बैठ के क्या करेंगे सर? और जवान
Good afternoon, all the dignitaries
Good afternoon.
of Doon University School of Management. I extend hearty welcome to dignitaries in the validity session, week research methodology workshop. We have with us Professor Honorable Sunil Roy Saab, Honorable Vice Chancellor, University of Petroleum and Energy Studies, Doon, Dehradun. We have with us Honorable Professor H.K. Singh Saab, former Vice Chancellor, Maharishi University of Technology, Lucknow, and Professor with BHU Varanasi. We have Honorable Professor Ravindra Vinayak Saab, former Secretary of Indian Commerce Association, former Dean Academics, Maharishi Dayanand University, Rohtak, and former Director of DSPSR, New Delhi. And we have with us Honorable Vice Chancellor of Doon University, great agriculture scientist, and a noted educationist, Honorable Professor A.K. Karnatak Saab. I extend hearty welcome to all the dignitaries, all the participants who have attended this one-week research methodology workshop, and the faculty colleagues, Dr. Reena Singh, Dr. Prachi, Dr. Gajendra, Dr. Sudhanshu, and other faculty members of School of Management. So first of all, I would like to invite Honorable Sunil Rai Sahab, Vice Chancellor, University of Petroleum and Energy Studies, Dehradun, to have his words of wisdom and to guide the participants and to bless the scholars how they can have very safe future and they can excel in academia. Honorable Vice Chancellor of University of Petroleum and Energy Studies, Professor Sunil Rai.
Thank you, sir, and good afternoon, all my seniors and the colleagues who have attended this workshop. As sir said, I feel very humbled to give words of wisdom. There is already my seniors here. Verma sir is here. Professor Singh is there. You are there, sir, and Vinayak sir is there. So I don't know what wisdom can I, spread. However, that I have been called to do a task. Firstly, I would like to thank the Doon University for giving me this opportunity to be in your company and share a few of my views. I will also congratulate all the participants who have joined this workshop. I was going through the agenda and the items that have been covered. It's a very highly value-adding, enriched workshop that has been conducted, for which I would like to compliment the team which has put together this wonderful event. I had, of course, an occasion to, since I logged in early, not early on time, so I had the privilege of viewing few of the sessions that were going on of Professor Awasthi and the other faculty, which of course one can make out that has been, it must have been an excellent experience for all the participants. I am a firm believer of applied research, and not that I have got anything against fundamental research or basic research, but I personally feel, given my background that I am an ex-defense person, I am a former commander of the Indian Navy, and I have been privileged to be the Vice Chancellor of two other universities before this, one in Pune and one in Kaziranga in Assam. I'm telling you this is not to sing some bravados, but to put a point as to why I encourage a lot that we should indulge in this applied research, and applied research also in issues which can have influence here and now. Given the kind of present situation that has got worsened by this pandemic, given that we are in an economic scenario where there are challenges and of course now more opportunities, we are seeing that India is now perhaps very rightly placed to become the next manufacturing hub for the world of high-tech products. As the world opinion is shaping up in favor of India, given our background and given the initiatives, and the world is now convinced that we have the wherewithal. And this is the reason why I feel that this is the time when we have to indulge and engage in applied research, which will provide solutions. We have to find our own solutions, and peculiarity has to be that these solutions have to be found very quickly and they have to be found economically, because we can't afford the kind of luxury of going through various trials. And something is telling us that we may be one of the first few to find the drug for or the vaccine for COVID. And there are also many more. So it's a wish, and we, at least from whatever we know from the media, things seem to be moving in the right direction. So this, at this point of time when the research has to become a second nature of not only the teaching learning fraternity, but also anybody who engages in knowledge activity. And therefore this workshop has come at the very right time. The examples that were being discussed in few of the sessions that I had the opportunity in this workshop to witness is very welcome, because we have to look at these solutions, as I said, economically and at a high speed. I would just suggest three points to be considered by the young researchers or all those who are engaging into this activity. One is the diagnosis is very important. The first and foremost thing is we have to understand the context. The context has to be understood fully well, whether it's an economic context or it's a social context, which is far more important in our case, or it is technological context. So if the context is understood, then the diagnosis happens very well. There are, of course, techniques we have learned from our seniors about how does one plan research, how does one conduct research, how does one bring the inferences to the good use. But I think where I find mostly the issue is in truly understanding the context. We sometimes keep on dwelling with problems in the areas where actually the problem doesn't stay. And therefore, what happens is that even if we have found a solution, the solution is actually a non-solution. And therefore, the context has to be understood. So if there is a problem, that somewhere the crop's yield is not there, is it because of the soil? Is it because of the grains? Is it because of the seeds? Is it because of the process? And artificial intelligence and all those things may not have the solution for everything. So I think my suggestion to the researchers would be to go for a good diagnosis. Context sensitive diagnosis is number one. Number two is about the methodology itself. It is many times I find that we do get locked into the procedures and the formulae, and we miss sometimes the kind of inferences that were pointed at by the data which was or the solutions or the equations which were actually not pointing directly at that. So the second one would be to find, I would suggest that we find the right kind of inferences. And third one is any activity